Jimmy Jam helped shape the sound of generations, working with legends from Janet Jackson, Mariah Carey, Michael Jackson, and Boyz II Men. Today on the B-side, I sit down with the man behind the music. This is the B-side. I'm Chaz Langley, and I'm with the living legend, Jimmy Jam. You've heard his music, whether you know it or not.
Whether you wanted to or not.
Whether you wanted to or not. This man is permeated.
It's snuck into your life in some way.
Absolutely. Permeated through your eardrums, through your heart, through every part of you at some point. It's great to be with you.
Great to be with you, man.
Absolutely. And I just want to, give you your flowers because, that's a thing that's been going on nowadays. Everyone's talking about giving back and, giving people who have made a mark in our society and in our culture their flowers. And for me to be here, I'm absolutely honored. So thank you for the time.
Thank you.
Now, the B-side, I'm sure you know the B-side oh so well. It's obviously piggybacking off of records.
Yes. Yes.
The A-side are the hits.
Yes.
The B-side are the deep cuts.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
So I'd love to have this conversation kind of navigate in that space. Okay.
Perfect.
The B-side of your life, who you are, some of the things that help create, who you are as, the artist, the visionary, the multi-instrumentalist, the multi-Grammy winner, the multi-hit maker. You're just multi. And to be able to share some of those moments with you, I think would be very engaging for my audience. And then for me too, just my natural curiosity. So what's a lesser known song that you produced that never hit the radio, but meant a lot to you when you created it?
Wow, there's quite a few actually, but probably my go-to song, kind of heralded or unnoticed. We did a song with Gladys Knight called Home Alone. And I had forgotten, I won't say I forgot about the song, but D Nice, when he was doing his quarantine Club Quarantine, right? He was doing that, and I happened to mention, I think I had sent him the song a while back, and he said, I'm going to play this song during my set. And he played it, and the reaction was just like, people were like, wait, what is this? Because nobody had ever heard the song.
Right.
But it's a beautiful arrangement. It was written by, myself and Terry, but also a gentleman named Big Jim Wright, who is no longer with us, but he was a member of the Sounds of Blackness and a wonderful writer and wonderful producer. And he co-wrote that song with us. And it's just kind of, if you think about Luther, House Is Not a Home, it's kind of one of those types of songs with Gladys's voice on it. It's amazing. Yeah.
Now, speaking of Gladys Knight, there was a story that I think I may have heard you talk about, Gladys, as it related to a song that you sang. Now, talk about the power of persuasion of your voice, whether it be melodically, lyrically, or what have you. And tell me that unique story that I may have heard about Gladys Knight.
Yeah. It's really funny because I in my mind, it was Patti LaBelle.
Oh,
but Terry said it was Gladys Knight. But what it was, so, when you do a song for an artist, you have to present it to them. You have to play it for them. And most of the time when Terry and I did demos, I would be the singer of the demo because I couldn't sing. I'm not a great singer, but I could certainly do the melody good enough where somebody knew what it was supposed to be, right? But there was a song that Ann Nesby from Sounds of Blackness helped us write, and she went in and did the demo of the song. And I remember when we played it, the response was, "Ooh, Ann sounds really good on there." And we were like, yeah. She should just keep that song for herself. We were like, no, what are you talking about? And it was like, it was one of those kinds of things. What it taught us was that even the greatest singers have, I wouldn't say insecurity, but it's kind of like when they hear another singer sing it really good, it becomes that singer's song to them. But if they hear me singing it, they're like, oh, I'm going to kill this. I get it. I hear it. Because all they're hearing is the melody. They're not hearing another singer sing the song. And really made Terry and I make all of our demos. I'm basically singing on all of them. And probably one of the funniest ones is Boyz II Men on Bended Knee. And I
tell me
remember,
about that.
so I did. Well, I sang the demo vocal, and of course, I'm trying to be them, right? And I'm singing all these parts. Now, the funny thing is, when we played them the demo, they just started laughing. They were laughing, and we were like, "What's up?" And they were like laughing. They said, "No, song's great, but I know y'all don't think we're gonna sing it like this." And I swear, and the second verse of the song, if you remember that second verse of that song, it says, excuse my voice, but it's so many nights I dream of you, holding my pillow tight, I know, and I know.
Yes.
They sang it exactly like I sang, but I sang it badly. So you get what I'm saying.
Okay.
I can't really sing it, but I know what the notes should be. I know what the inflection should be.
Yes.
And that's the way exactly they sang that song. And so it kind of was the way we did demos, but it made it feel for the artists, there was no insecurity. They felt like, oh yeah, they laughed, but then they knew what it was. I'll tell you the most memorable one on that subject for me was Barry White. So we worked with Barry White, and I remember I think the song was called Come On, maybe is what the song was called. And I remember I did the demo, and I'm like, yeah, baby, and I'm doing all this. I'm trying to talk like Barry White. Right? And we played him the demo, and then when it got done, there was silence. And we always called him Mr. White. He was never Barry. We said, Mr. White, what do you think? And he rears back in this big laugh. He goes, ha, 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 sounds like me.
Wow.
And we said, sounds like me. That's the greatest compliment that an artist could give a writer and a producer.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Now, me being a singer, I've sang a lot of demos.
Yeah.
And so I understand what a writer is trying to convey, being also a singer-songwriter too.
Yeah.
Being able to articulate, but not oversell the song, because you want to leave some meat on the bone, so to speak.
Yeah.
So especially if it's a great singer, like you said with that example with with that demo,
or Patty and whoever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want to hear another female sing that song. I'll give you one other example of that.
Sure, absolutely.
So Usher, You Remind Me. So the song was basically done, and LA called us and he said, I got this song. Usher sang it, but he's not singing it good. And he said, I told him, Usher, you need to go back in and re-sing the song. Usher said to me, the only person I'll go back and sing the song with is Terry Lewis.
Wow.
So he said, Terry, what do you think? And Terry said, yeah, I'll take a crack at it. So what happened was, psychologically, Terry had to basically get him to unlearn the song the way that the demo singer had sang it, who was a guy named Eddie Hustle was his name. And he had demoed the vocal on it and did a great job on it. I mean, it sounded beautiful. But Usher was trying to emulate him rather than singing like himself. So Terry had to almost unteach him the song and then teach him, no, sing it like how you would sing it, right?
Wow.
And L.A. Reid, I remember on that first call, he said, no pressure. He said it's either the first single or off the album. Wow. We were like, okay. So anyway, we sent it to him when Terry got it done, sent it to him, and he just called back and he said, first single. And that was You Remind Me.
Wow.
Straight to number one.
Wow.
Opened up the 8701 album.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible. Now, there's been so many different artists you work with. I mean, we're talking, George Michael. Janet, Boyz II Men. I mean, I can go on and on. But I know you mentioned a couple artists already, and I love the artist stories. But what is how you guys really shaped Janet, and for decades? I mean, we're talking decades to where I was doing dance routines with Rhythm Nation in my magnet school in Virginia Beach. Okay. So I remember that record that played on constant repeat around my house. My mom used to tell me to turn it off. I'm like, Mom, I'm learning the dances, I'm doing the whole,
I love that. That's
my God.
That's great.
And that was you. That was you guys. And I had no context to it. It was just a cool song by Janet Jackson. Right. Obviously I don't know what I know now, but to be able to go back and dig into those records, tell me a little bit about the process and what were some of the most surprising moments in the studio that you can look back on and go, man, that was really, really, we didn't expect that, but that turned out to be amazing.
Well, the pivotal thing with Janet was, timing is a lot of it. But she had done a couple of records that weren't that successful. And John McClain, who was the A&R person at A&M Records, we knew each other. And he called us. He said, "Is there anybody on the label you'd like to produce on A&M Records?" And we said, send it up, because it was back in that day, it was the fax machine days. So we're in the dark ages. He faxes up the list of artists on A&M, and Terry and my finger both stopped on Janet. We said, we want to do Janet. He said, great, you want to do a couple songs? We said, no, we want to do the whole album. He was like, you do? I was like, yeah, because we felt like Janet was like, we loved her early stuff where you'd see her on the variety shows and stuff. Mm-hmm. And she had so much attitude and so much, I call it feistiness. She was so feisty.
Yeah.
And on her records that she made, she didn't have any of that. So Terry and I, in our minds, thought if we could get that attitude out of her, that would be great. And then lyrically, because she was at a point where she was moving out of her house, she was going to, go out on her own. That kind of manifested itself in Minneapolis. Because when she came to Minneapolis to work, no bodyguards, no limos. Mm-hmm. We gave her a Thomas guide we're dating ourselves. This is really old stuff. No, because pre-GPS.
Yes.
Gave her a Thomas guide so she could get from the hotel to the studio. And we got her a car to drive. I think we got her like a Chevy Blazer or something so she could drive. And that was the thing. And it was like, so as we're writing this album, she literally is going out on her own and doing her own thing and having to be responsible for herself. Wow. And first few days, we didn't even go in the studio. We just kind of hung out. And she said, when are we going to get started? And we said, oh, we're started. And we showed her the opening lyrics to Control. When I was 17, I did what people told me, did what my father said, and let my mother mold. No, did what my mother said, whatever one. I can't remember. Did what my father said and let my mother mold me. Right. That's what it was, right? And when she saw that lyric, she said, well, wait, that's what we've been talking about. And we said, yeah. And she said, so whatever we talk about, that's what we're going to write about? Yes. Oh, well, then I want to write about this. I want to write about this.
Oh, my God.
And that was like the light bulb going on. So that was a very memorable moment. And making that album was fantastic. Mm-hmm. Rhythm Nation was amazing. I remember Rhythm Nation, we started in the winter. And I remember the first thing she did when she got out the car, she laid down in the snow and started doing Snow Angels. Wow. And I was like, wow, you're going to catch a cold. What are you doing? Right. But it was crazy. But yeah, she was just, it was great. And Control took 6 weeks. Rhythm Nation took 6 months. It was a whole different type of thing, but it was where she was at in her life. And that was the thing we always were able to kind of do, was capture where someone was at in their life, in the life of the artist.
Yeah. I love that. It sounds like a very holistic sort of way of writing.
Oh, yeah.
Because you really dig into the artist, and artist becomes a prevalent point, because now you're starting to have that message reverberate throughout the world, because now you're finding a lot of those same 17-year-olds kind of trying to find their voice in whoever they are. Mm-hmm. And they're kind of going, wow, I have license to be that now because Janet said it.
That's right. That's important.
And so that speaks, volumes to the way that you've been able to help cultivate that relationship, to be able to write that way. Because when I think about today, speaking about the way music is made now, we've gone from records. We talked about the B-side. We went from records to now we're streaming.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So how has that changed for you as a producer, being that you've been doing this for decades, 50 plus years at this point? Mm-hmm. So to know that, you've been able to transcend all the decades up to this point, how is music in your eyes and your perspective as a producer?
That's a great question. I think that some things remain the same. I think the idea of what a good song is, something that's catchy, a good melody, a good way of saying something maybe in a way that hasn't been said before. Terry and I's combination is we always say the funky bottom and the pretty top. There's always a bit of funk in the music, but there's always a bit of prettiness in the music too.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what we subscribe to. What you're talking about is the delivery system of music. So whether it's on vinyl or CD or streaming, to me, that's just the way you receive it. Mm-hmm. What we put into it is very consistent, and it's always been a very artist-first way of looking at it. We want the artist to always have something that's tailor-made specifically for them. Mm-hmm. If you think about a tailor in a suit, pick the material, pick the, double-breasted, single-breasted, all those choices.
Yes.
And then you have a suit that fits you perfectly.
Yeah.
Now the stitching on the suit is all going to look the same because it's Jam & Lewis. But so you're going to know if it's a Jam & Lewis made suit, but it's all going to sound different. It's all going to be individual to that person. And I think that's helped with our longevity. I mean, I think I was telling somebody just recently, it's like, first interview we ever did, the guy said, how does it feel to be the hottest producers? And we said, we don't really want to be the hottest producers. We just want to be warm for a long time.
Hey.
And that's sort of our mantra. And
I love that.
And literally, I don't know, probably not 50 years later, but when we did Janet's Unbreakable album, which is it will be 10 years old this year.
Wow.
I know, right? Don't we all feel a lot older all of a sudden? So, but when that album opened at #1 on the charts, he said, you guys realize you've had like #1 records like in 4 decades? And we said, well, remember what we told you? Warm for a long time.
Yeah, I love that.
So that's it.
So now, speaking of chart topping and all these different accolades that you had, tell me the difference between a chart topping song, because you've had nearly 20 chart topping songs, but then you think about a timeless record. So what's the difference between the two?
Well, Terry, my partner, always likes to say there's 3 kinds of records. Mm-hmm. There's good records, there's bad records, and there's hit records. Mm. The first 2 can be debated. It's good, it's bad, it sucks, that's what it is. But a hit, there's no debating a hit. So to me, the classicness of a record happens over a period of years. Because you can have a #1 hit on the chart, and 5 years from now, nobody's singing it, nobody cares about it. It could be a fluke, thing that just happens.
Yeah.
And then you have those songs, like we've been fortunate enough to have songs like when we go out and play or go out with people, and all of a sudden it's, you hear Saturday Love. Mm. And like literally schools use that song to teach kids the days of the week. Wow. It's like the craziest thing, but that's now considered a classic. But it was also a huge hit, Right. So, and it was a song that actually we didn't feel that strongly about. And so some of your people may know this, but the verses in that song. Now, when you listen to this song, I always like to give people a little piece of something where when they hear the song now, they'll listen for it.
Yeah.
So Alexander O'Neal's verse and Sherelle's verse are exactly the same lyrics. Mm. Right?
It's Sherelle goes, the messenger.
When I think about you, right? Mm-hmm. And Alex goes, when I think about you.
Yeah.
Same lyrics. Now, some people think that's genius. It was genius to give them the same lyrics. But what it really was is we ran out of time. And Terry hadn't written the second verse. And, there you go. So it's like, just have him sing the same thing Sherelle sang. Okay, cool. And that's how it worked.
And sometimes, as a songwriter, I harken back to different songs that I've written, and some songs you almost feel like, especially if it's the type of song, if the first verse is that strong, mm-hmm. you can essentially duplicate it.
Oh, sure.
And repeat it.
Absolutely.
And give it a different twist, or sing it differently, or add a different inflection, or change up the production on it to make it feel differently.
I totally agree. I like repetition.
Yeah.
I really do. A lot of writers will melodically say, they'll start out with a line and they'll go da 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 whatever. And then they'll come back, da, 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 da. And I'm like, no, that first thing you did, that da, 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 hit that again, da, 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 da. Let's hit that 3 times, and then fourth one maybe switch to. I like the idea of that. I really do.
Yeah, I love that. Now, let's go into style, because one of my things that I do here in New York, I have a series called Soho Chronicles, mm-hmm. and we spoke about it a little bit before we started. Essentially, where I go up to cool people, cool cats and mm-hmm. Kittens, and kind of go, man, I love that drip. I love the way you're putting yourself together. What inspired you to wear this? What inspired you to pick that out, or mm-hmm. or whatever that is? Not necessarily where'd you buy it or what label it is. Uh-huh. I'm inspired by the person.
Yeah.
So now with you have been iconic and synonymous with your fedora and your shades. Mm-hmm. Where did that begin? How has that shaped your career? And, it's just you. And I love it. And because I'm a man who is a hat and a glasses person myself, since I was in my early 20s.
Yep.
So when I started following, I'm like, oh my God, there's somebody in the industry that's wearing a hat and glasses and it's their thing. I'm like,
that's funny.
Yeah. So tell me about that, because that's one of those personal curiosity questions that I've always wanted to ask you.
Well, it kind of derived from the sunglass thing. I just was looking at some pictures, some high school pictures, because I dropped out of high school and I just literally got my diploma like a few weeks ago, an honorary diploma, because I dropped out to pursue music. But anyway, I was looking at some of my yearbook pictures, like from junior high and high school, and I was wearing glasses. I had shades on the whole time, and I remember it used to drive my mom crazy. Like, why you take your school picture with sunglasses on?
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know, because it looked cool. You know, that was always my thing. The hat part of it really derived from Terry. I have pictures of Terry from he was like 13 years old, and he was wearing a fedora because a couple of guys in his family always wore hats, and so that was his thing. He was always inspired by hats. So that was kind of what he did. And when we got together, we just kind of put those two elements together. And it just became the trademark, I guess. I
love that.
We call it almost, it's a kind of superhero costume. There was a girl that wanted to take a picture with me. Oh, no, it wasn't take a picture. They asked, are you going to wear the glass? We don't normally have people in the studio with glasses on. And I said, yeah. I said, no, we always wear. And she said, well, I'll make an exception and you can leave your glasses on. I said, great. I said, that's like leaving an exception for Batman can leave his mask on.
Yeah.
You know, you're gonna have Batman in the studio and then go, oh, but you got to take your mask off.
Oh yeah. No.
So that's what this is. This is the look, and it allows on a day like today when it's raining outside, so we're taking the subway everywhere. Now, if I walk in the subway looking like this, I don't know. A few people might notice. But if I take the hat and the sunglasses off, I'm just a dude in the subway.
Right.
You know.
Right.
So it makes I can be Clark Kent and Superman, and I can be Bruce Wayne and Batman. It's perfect.
I love that. So you and Terry, y'all have this Batman and Batman. I don't even want to say Batman and Robin, like Batman and Batman thing, and I love that. Now, speaking of both of you, being that you had your first record together, Volume 1, that album, how does it feel as a producer to now be in the spotlight as an artist? And tell me how that feels in relation to, you sing your own demos, like you do.
Right.
I mean, as it relates to an artist, how does it feel?
Well, it's interesting because my analogy when we put the album out was that being an artist, it's a difference between when you're a producer, basically you're the person at the hospital that delivers the babies, right? So, you deliver a baby here, then you deliver another baby. So that's what we do. We go make a song with Mariah, we make a song with Toni Braxton, we make a song with Morris Day, we make a song with Charlie Wilson, make a song with Boyz II Men, make a song with Mary J. Blige. That's what the Jam and Lewis album was.
You dropped something right there. Those names.
Oh. Wow. Okay, that was a good one.
No, hey, listen, that was good. You were in the trenches with him, so that ain't even name dropping. That's for real.
Yeah. But the thing is that you're basically the doctor delivering the babies.
Right.
And then you deliver the baby, you move on to the next baby, you move on to the next baby. Being an artist is being the parents of the baby. You take the baby home. You got to bathe it and feed it and make sure it's okay. And that's what an artist is. And we always felt that way a lot about even giving artists songs. We always wanted to have songs that the artists, if it's a successful song, they're going to sing it the rest of their lives.
Yes.
It better be a song they like,
absolutely.
like I can't stand doing this song, So we don't want that to happen. So anyway, so with Jam and Lewis, so being artists, first of all, it's not my favorite thing, quite honestly. I like being behind the scenes. That's my favorite part of it, is being behind the scenes. And I don't really crave the audience. Like I know certain people really feel like they crave the audience attention, and I don't feel that way. I mean, I enjoy it, but I don't live for it. I think the best entertainers and stars live for that. Janet and Beyonce and Michael when he was alive, and Prince, that aspect of that audience thing, I think really fed them and feeds them. And that for me, that's not the case. I enjoy it, but I don't feel that need that, I have to be back out there again.
So to that end, what made you want to be an artist?
Simply that we had songs that it gave us the opportunity to be very selfish. So when we write songs for artists, we always write the songs that we want to hear them sing. And there's also input from the record company and managers or whoever. Everybody has kind of their own opinion. So with Jam and Lewis Volume 1, we were able to make the songs we wanted with the artists, but they were the way we wanted them to be, right? So, Mary J. Blige, No More Drama. Oh, not No More Drama, I'm sorry, but Spinnin' was the song we did with Mary J. And it was like, this is a record that when we wrote it, we just felt like this is Mary J's song. And we wanted for the artists to sound like their best selves, and we wanted to have the feeling like if you went to the record store, to pick up that that CD or that album, and you said, "Here's an album with with Mariah Carey and with all these different people on it. What would you want that song to sound like?" And then that was the song we tried to make for each of those artists. We wanted to make the most Babyface song. I remember somebody being disappointed that when they heard the Babyface collaboration, that it sounded like Babyface. And we said, no, that's actually a compliment. We want it to sound like, we want it to be the most Babyface sounding song. That's another one. Babyface laughed when he heard it.
Oh, gosh.
He laughed. He was like, oh my God. He said, this is so funny. And I said, no. I said, people love Whip Appeal. This is basically Whip Appeal Part 2 to us. Like, it's that style. And that's what we wanted to do. Yeah. And we kind of did that with all the artists. We just said, we want you to be your best self, the way we hear you, the way we would want to hear the song, come from you.
Absolutely. And that's just a testament to the greatness that you have as a producer and a musician, and being able to hear all the different levels of the song, from the vocal to the bass line to the melody, the guitars and everything like that.
We're very analytical.
Yeah.
The gentleman who's directing our documentary is Jason King. He's the Dean of Music at USC. And formerly NYU. And his observation about us, he called us Oppenheimer. He said we have a formula, and it's, we really dissect every element of what works with an artist. Could be the key of the song, it could be certain instrumentation that goes with it, and then that's what we create. And I think that is what we've always done. I mean, we continue to do that, although we never really thought of it like that. Mm-hmm. We just would always listen. We'd always do our homework, though. Whenever we were going to work with somebody, we would do that. And if it was a new artist, we would have long conversations, and kind of like with Janet, and just kind of have long conversations and figure out the way they like to say things, the way they would phrase things, and all of those different kind of elements. So we just very analytical in our approach, I guess I'd say.
I love that. So now, I'm here with you in New York City. Mm-hmm. What are you doing here right now? What are you working on right now? Because I know you're cooking up something. You're always cooking up something.
Always cooking up. We have multiple meals being made, and along that line of meals, one of the things we're doing is actually going to announce a song that's for a charity called 100 Billion Meals, and we're going to do it at Global Citizen. And the idea of the song is that we're starting with a simple melody. If you think about a song like Lean On Me, the Bill Withers classic, a lot of people, that was the first song. If they played a piano, it was the first song they learned. That song, right?
Definitely mine.
Okay. Yeah. Hey, me too. I'm right with you. So we wanted to have a song that was that level of simplicity, if you will, where a 3-year-old could hop on a keyboard and actually play the song, or a guitar player could play it, or a harmonica player could play it. But pick your instrument, you could do it, and anybody could sing along with the melody of the song. And then the idea is that we now, as we write the song, we obviously have the superstars write their versions of it. Few people who are already involved. Charlie Puth is already involved on it. Fauntleroy is involved with it, who wrote Die With a Smile with Bruno. Beast. Yeah. So there's already people that are involved, and they're all coming up with their own interpretations of what lyrically should be said. But the way we think about it is the next verse, because in anything that you're doing on a charitable level, so 100 billion meals is a great way to think about. So after we get to 100 billion meals, which is the goal is by 2030, that we will have fed that many people. But then what's the next verse? Because what's the next thing that we need to use music to enhance or enlighten or be the soundtrack of? So that's where we're at with this. So we want everybody involved to feel like they can help and they can give in some way. And, I always say, we can blame, people look at a billionaire and they go, he's got $1 billion. How come he doesn't do something? And rather than putting the energy into why doesn't somebody do something, let's put the energy into why can't we do something? So if there's What's the difference if one guy with $100 billion? What's the difference between 100 billion people with $1? It's all the same. Yeah. But the difference is the 100 billion people all aligned, the energy of that beyond financial, that to me is the divine art of music. And that's what I want to be the practitioner in. And so that's what we're setting out to do this weekend.
I love that. I love that. So now with that being said, I'll leave you on this question, one last question. Mm-hmm. So with all of the things that you've done through all these different generations, decades, genres, what do you hope your legacy leaves with the music that you've created?
Well, I always say the one story I always tell about that is when we were working with Michael Jackson on Scream with Michael and Janet. And after we did Scream, then Michael, because we had done like 6 or 7 tracks, and Michael said, what happened to those other tracks? And we said, we still have them. He said, let's write some stuff to them. So we did. So we started doing some more stuff. This was for the History album. And I remember we used to have these conversations about stuff, and Michael one day said, how do you want to be remembered? And I said, I said, I want to be remembered as a nice guy. And he goes, no. Like, how do you want to, like, is it because all your #1 records? And I said, no, Michael, that's just statistical stuff. I said, that's fine. But, I always say stats don't lie. They just don't tell the whole truth, So he was like, I don't get it. And I said, yeah, I just want to be remembered as a nice guy. He said, no. But because of all the Grammys and all the, it's like, no. Anyway, so we ended that conversation. So about a year later, we had sampled maybe Billie Jean or one of his songs for a remix we were doing. Mm-hmm. And everybody said, oh, don't bother. He doesn't clear anything. You'll never get it cleared. And I figured, well, okay, well, nothing hurts but a try, right? So I called up, and his girl answered, and she said, I'll have him call you back, blah, blah, blah. Cool. So I remember he calls, and there was a girl that worked in our office named Sue, and she usually sat up front. And if whoever was on the phone, she'd just hit the intercom and go, so-and-so on line 1, right?
Right. She
comes on to my door, and she goes, Michael Jackson's on the phone. And I kind of went, oh, okay, cool. She said, no. Michael Jackson's on the phone. I said, right. I said, I'm expecting his call. She said, no. Not someone calling for Michael Jackson. Oh. It's Michael Jackson on the phone. I said, right, Sue, I got it. Okay, thanks. So I said, hey, Michael, I said, how are you? He says, great. He says, now, I know you wanted to ask me a question, but before you do that, can I just say something? I said, yeah. He said, so everybody asked me what it was like working with you. And I say, he was the nicest guy. I said, Michael, I said, you get it. He said, I totally get it. And I said, well, here's the cool thing, Michael. When people ask what it was like working with you, I tell them the exact same thing. And he said, oh, you do? And I said, yeah. And he said, wow. He said, well, what did you want? I said, well, we sampled this thing. Oh, talk to John Branca. We'll take care of it, whatever. They were like, how'd you get that done? I said, I guess I was a nice guy.
Oh my gosh! And that's where I'm going to leave that.
So that's the way I want to be remembered.
Wow!
Yeah.
Wow! Beautiful. Well, man, once again, it's an honor and a pleasure to meet you. Thank you for your words. Thank you for your music. Thank you for your legacy. And thank you for your time.
Thank you, brother.
All right.
Appreciate it.
From the B-side, Chaz Langley. Peace.